The sky split open above the city like someone tore a hole in it. It was not lightning. It was not a plane. It was a hard, bright green rip that looked wrong, even for people who had seen soups do weird things on camera. A chunk of air folded in on itself. Then a huge shape dropped out. People heard the sound a second later. It hit the street with a crash that felt like a small earthquake. Asphalt jumped. A parked car bounced up on two wheels, then slammed down again. Windows shook in their frames. A camera crew was already there. They had been filming a hero rescue promo for Vought 2 blocks away. The director froze for half a second, then snapped into work mode. Rolling! Rolling! Get me the wide! No, the wide! This is money, he yelled. A sound tech laughed, too loud, because he did not know what else to do. The dust cloud spread out. People coughed. Phones rose into the air like a field of tiny screens. And then the thing in the crater moved. A massive hand pushed against broken road. Fingers curled and tightened. The hand looked like it was carved from green stone, but it was alive. It was warm. It made the air shimmer just around it. The figure rose slowly. He was taller than any soup most people had seen in real life. His shoulders were wide, like a truck's hood. His chest looked like armor, but it was skin. Torn pants hung off him in strips. His back was covered in dust and small bits of rock. His face came into view. His eyes were dark, and they looked tired. Not sleepy. Tired like someone who had carried something heavy for too long. Then his jaw clenched. The street trembled again, even though he did not stomp. It was like the ground was reacting to him just standing there. A woman near the curb whispered, Is this a new 7 member? Her friend shook his head hard. No. Vought would have tweeted it. A little kid started crying because the air felt strange, like pressure before a storm. The giant turned his head, slow, and looked down the street. He was not looking at cameras. He was looking past them, like he expected someone to be waiting there. A Vought security team rushed in from the side. They wore black body armor and carried rifles. One of them raised a speaker. "Step away from the civilians," the guard shouted. His voice cracked at the end. The giant's eyes flicked to the guard. For a second, the guard looked small enough to fit in the giant's palm. The guard's hands shook. He did not fire. He could feel it. This was not a normal soup problem. A city bus rolled around the corner, braking too late because the driver was staring at the crater. The bus fishtailed. It clipped a car. It started to tip. People screamed. The driver lost control. The giant moved. He did not sprint. He did not rush. He took one long step and reached out. His hand caught the bus by the front, like he was catching a falling box. The bus squealed and shuddered. Glass cracked, but it did not fall onto the crowd. He set it down. Gentle, like he was placing something fragile. For one beat, the street went quiet in a way that felt unreal. Then the giant's hands curled into fists. The security guard lifted his rifle again, forced by fear and training. The giant's voice came out low and rough, like gravel scraping. "Where are they?" the guard swallowed. "Who?" The giant's gaze hardened, and the air pressure around him seemed to push outward. "Where?" he repeated. Louder. "Are they?" Above, a Vought helicopter tilted closer. Its camera zoomed in. The news anchor's voice came through a live feed in millions of homes. "Something incredible is happening live." The helicopter dipped, like it hit a sudden pocket of bad air. But it was not bad air. It was him. And as sirens screamed closer, the city realized it was not watching a new show. It was watching a new kind of problem, a problem no one had ever sold before. Homelander smiled for the cameras before his boots even touched the street. From above, he looked like the hero everyone wanted him to be. The cape, the perfect posture, the calm face. Inside, he was already annoyed. This was his city, his stage, his world. And now something green and huge had dropped in and stolen the spotlight without even trying. He floated down slowly because slow meant control. Control meant power. Power meant people kept clapping. The giant stood in the crater and stared like a storm that had learned how to wear a body. Homelander heard the crowd noise. He heard phones clicking. He heard the distant sirens. He heard the helicopter above him, and he knew exactly where its camera was pointed. At him. Good. Then he felt the ground tremble again. Not from explosions, not from a train, from the giant. Homelander's smile did not move, but his eyes narrowed. He had met strong soups. He had broken strong soups. This felt different. He landed on the cracked asphalt and spread his arms like he was welcoming a fan. "Hey there," he said, loud enough for every mic. "You're causing a lot of damage. Let's calm down and talk, okay?" The giant looked at him like he was looking at a bug that had learned to talk. It was not fear on the giant's face. It was impatience. Homelander hated that more than anything. Behind Homelander, Starlight landed too. Her smile was smaller, realer, and shaky. A-Train jogged in place like he was trying to look casual. Black Noir stood silent at the edge, already studying angles and distance. Starlight's eyes locked onto the bus the giant had just saved. She saw the driver's white face behind the windshield. He saved them, she thought. That did not fit the monster story Vought would want. Homelander took one step forward. The giant did not step back. Homelander kept his voice smooth. "I'm going to ask you to come with us. We'll get you help." The giant's eyes flicked over Homelander's face, then to the cameras, then to the crowd. Like he understood the shape of this world in a second. Then the giant spoke again. "Where are they?" Homelander's smile tightened. "Who are you looking for?" The giant's jaw flexed. Under his feet, cracks spread like thin black lines. Starlight felt it in her knees. The street was shivering. Homelander's eyes flicked to the cracks. He did not like this. Not because it was dangerous, because it looked messy. And messy meant people might blame him. Homelander straightened. His voice sharpened. Just a little. "Last warning." The giant finally moved his attention fully onto him. He leaned forward a fraction, like a mountain deciding to fall. Starlight's stomach dropped. Not because she knew who the giant was, because she could feel, deep in her bones, that Homelander was about to learn something he had never learned before, that the world had bigger things than him. Billy Butcher watched the live feed on a cheap TV that sat on a folding table. The safe house smelled like old coffee and gun oil. The lights were dim. The walls were bare. Huey stood beside him, mouth half open. Mother's Milk sat with his elbows on his knees, eyes locked, face hard. Frenchie had a laptop open, trying to pull any signal data he could. Kimiko stood behind them all, silent. On the screen, Homelander looked perfect. On the screen, the giant looked like a problem no one could lie about for long. Butcher's mouth curled. Well, he muttered. Christmas came early. Huey stared. That's not a soup, right? I mean, it has to be a soup. But what? Butcher asked without looking away. It's like, he looks like a tank, Huey said. And he just picked up a bus like it was nothing. MM's voice was low. This is going to get people killed. Butcher nodded like that was obvious. That's what Vought does, mate. Frenchie tapped his keyboard fast. There is strange reading, he said. Not like compound vibe, not like electricity, not like heat. It is heavy. Like the air is heavy. Kimiko tilted her head, watching the giant's face on the screen. She did not smile. Butcher leaned closer, eyes bright. The cape's about to puff his chest, he said. And the green bloke ain't impressed. Huey swallowed. What do we do? Butcher's grin widened. It was not happy. It was hungry. We watch, he said. We learn, then we use it. MM's jaw tightened. We don't use people. Butcher finally glanced at him. Since when do you call that thing people? Kimiko's hand touched MM's shoulder, light but firm. Her eyes stayed on the screen. On the TV, Homelander took his last warning posture. The giant did not blink. Huey whispered, "Oh no." Butcher breathed out like he was enjoying a movie trailer. "Come on," he said softly. "Do it." Inside Vought Tower, the crisis room was bright, cold, and full of screens. Ashley paced like her feet were on fire. Her hair was perfect, but her hands were shaking. "Tell me we're controlling the story," she snapped. A man in a suit, calm and unmoving, watched the feed without blinking. Stan Edgar did not raise his voice. He did not need to. "We control what we can," he said. "We cannot control that. Yet." On a screen, Homelander hovered inches from the giant's face. A scientist spoke up from the corner. "The energy spikes are off the chart. It's not Compound V. It looks like radiation, but not like anything we've logged." Ashley spun. Radiation? Like Chernobyl radiation? Like cancer radiation? "Not exactly," the scientist said quickly. "Different profile. Strong. Dense." Stan's eyes stayed on the screen. "Can we get a sample?" The scientist hesitated. "From him? We would need contact." Ashley barked a laugh that sounded like a sob. "Contact? He'll turn you into paste." Stan's voice stayed even. "I did not ask if it was comfortable. I asked if it was possible." Another executive cleared his throat. "Marketing is requesting guidance. If this becomes a new asset." Ashley whipped around. "Marketing? Are you kidding me?" A marketing guy held up a tablet, pale-faced, but still trying. "We just need a working name for the incident. Something with impact. Green Menace is trending. But Green Menace tests poorly with..." Ashley stared at him like she might kill him herself. Stan did not react. "Call it an unidentified hostile," he said. "For now." The marketing guy nodded fast, relieved to have any answer. On the screens, Homelander's smile was disappearing. He was talking less. His eyes were sharper. Stan leaned forward slightly. "Homelander," he murmured, almost to himself. "Do not embarrass us." Ashley looked at him. "What if he loses?" Stan's gaze stayed steady. "Then we adapt." He turned to the scientists. "I want containment options," he said. "I want a plan that does not depend on Homelander winning a fistfight." The scientists swallowed. "We have sedatives that work on soups. Strong ones." Stan's eyes flicked back to the giant's face. "Test them," he said, "and prepare a second plan." Ashley's voice broke. "A second plan like what?" Stan's mouth barely moved. "Like building something that can stand next to him," he said. The room went quiet. On the screens, the street trembled again. The next moment changed everything. Homelander moved first. He shot forward and hit the giant in the chest, full speed, like a missile wearing a cape. To the cameras, it was dramatic. It was fast. It was loud. To Starlight, it was a mistake. The giant slid back half a step. Homelander pulled back, eyes wide for a blink. Then he covered it with anger. He hit again. And again. Each punch made a shockwave that slammed dust outward. The giant's face barely changed. Then the giant grabbed Homelander's wrist. It looked easy, like catching a thrown ball. Homelander's eyes flashed red. Heat vision fired straight into the giant's face. Starlight gasped. She had seen that look before. That was Homelander when he stopped caring about anyone else. The heat vision lit the dust cloud orange. The giant did not scream. He turned his head slowly as the beams dragged across his cheek. His skin smoked a little. That was it. Then his eyes locked onto Homelander. The look was not pain. It was offense, like someone had insulted him. The giant's grip tightened. Homelander's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Then the giant swung his arm and threw Homelander through the air. Homelander smashed through a concrete divider, then through the front of a parked truck, then skidded across the street in a shower of broken metal. The crowd screamed. Phones kept filming. Starlight stood frozen for a half-second, brain trying to catch up. Homelander got thrown, she thought. Not pushed, not knocked back. Thrown. A-Train's smile vanished. He took a step back without thinking. Black Noir shifted his stance, his head tilted, like a machine recalculating a problem. The giant did not chase Homelander. He turned away like Homelander was finished. He took a step forward. The ground cracked under his foot. A building nearby groaned as the street foundation shifted. Starlight snapped out of it. She sprinted to the sidewalk where a mother had fallen with her child. "Move!" Starlight yelled, grabbing them and pulling them behind a car. A chunk of brick fell from above and shattered on the road where they had been. A-Train tried to do what A-Train did. He zipped in and aimed a punch at the giant's knee, then zipped out. The giant didn't even look down. He clapped his hands once. It was not a normal clap. It was like a pressure bomb. Air exploded outward. Cars rocked. People fell. A-Train got tossed sideways, tumbling across the road like a skip stone. A train slammed into a lamppost and crumpled. He groaned, stunned. Black Noir sprang in next. He was quiet and sharp. He went for tendons and joints. He used blades. He moved like a shadow. The giant caught him midair by the chest. Noir's knife scraped green skin and snapped. The giant held Noir like he weighed nothing. Noir's mask turned toward the giant's face. For the first time, the giant's eyes softened. Just a fraction. Not mercy. More like confusion. "Why are you here?" the look said. Then the giant set Noir down on the ground, instead of crushing him. A warning. A message. Starlight saw it and felt her breath catch. He could have killed him. He didn't. The giant stepped past Noir. He reached the bus again. People were still trapped inside, shaking and crying. The bus had shifted from the earlier impact. It was stuck at an angle. The giant hooked his hands under the bus and lifted it just enough to straighten it. He held it steady while the door opened. Passengers stumbled out. One man looked up at the giant and whispered, "Thank you." The giant did not answer. His eyes scanned the street again. "Where are they?" he growled, quieter now, like it was a thought he couldn't let go of. Starlight took a slow step toward him. "Hey," she said, voice shaking but steady. "Listen, people are scared. You're scaring them, but you just saved them. I saw it." The giant's head turned toward her. Starlight forced herself not to back up. "I don't know who you're looking for," she said, "but you're not on your world, okay? You're somewhere else." The giant stared. Behind Starlight, cameras zoomed in. News anchors talked fast. Social media captions stacked across screens like ants. Homelander rose from the wrecked truck. His face was split open on his cheek. His eyes were wet with fury. He did not look like a hero now. He looked like someone who had been humiliated. He floated up, shaking, and screamed, "Look at me!" The giant did not flinch. Homelander's heat vision fired again, not aimed carefully this time. It carved across the street, slicing a parked car in half, cutting a line of flame through a storefront. Starlight's eyes widened. "Stop!" she shouted at Homelander. Homelander did not hear her. He wanted the giant to react. He wanted a fight he could sell. The giant's gaze snapped to the burning storefront. Inside, people screamed. Starlight ran toward it. Her heart pounded. She could feel the heat on her face. Then the giant moved. He stepped between the storefront and the street. and slammed his hands onto the ground. The street dipped. The impact made a low wave ripple outward. It knocked Flame away from the doorway and collapsed part of the wall outward, instead of inward. It was messy, but it opened a path. People stumbled out through dust and broken beams. The giant grabbed a huge chunk of concrete and threw it, not at Homelander, but into the road where a fuel spill was spreading. The concrete smashed down and blocked the spill from reaching more fire. Starlight stared. He's thinking, she realized. He's not just smashing. Homelander saw it too, and it made him feel even smaller. 2 hours later, the narrative war began. Vought's crisis team stood in front of a wall of screens and forced smiles. The public statement went out fast. "An unidentified hostile has attacked our city," Ashley said, voice high and bright. The 7 responded immediately to protect the public. The video they played was edited already. It showed Homelander flying in. It showed Starlight helping people. It cut away from the moment Homelander got thrown. It cut away from the bus save. It cut away from the giant setting Noir down instead of killing him. But the internet had the raw footage. Millions of people had seen the truth in real time. In the safe house, Butcher replayed the throw again and again. Huey looked sick. Homelander. He got tossed. MM rubbed his face. This is going to make Homelander worse. Frenchie tapped his screen. "I trace the energy," he said. "It is like a storm that follows him. It keeps spiking. It goes quiet. Then it spikes again. Like a heartbeat." Kimiko watched without blinking. Butcher leaned back and grinned. "See?" he said. "Even gods can meet bigger gods." MM snapped. "He's not a god. He's a disaster." Butcher shrugged. "Same thing if you're under it." Huey swallowed. "What do we even call him?" Butcher's eyes stayed on the giant's face. The tired eyes. The rage under the tiredness. "We don't name him yet," Butcher said. "Names make things real. Let Vogt name him. Let the world argue." He leaned forward again, voice low. "We find out what makes him tick," he said, "and we make sure he ticks at Vogt." That night, the giant walked out of the city. No one stopped him. Drones followed at a distance, then fell back when their sensors glitched from the pressure shifts around him. Helicopters stayed far away. Soldiers watched from behind barricades and did not fire. The giant did not roar. He did not smash more buildings. He just walked, step after step, leaving cracks in the road. Starlight watched him from a rooftop with her arms wrapped around herself. Her face was dirty. Her hands were scraped. She had saved people and still felt like she had failed. She saw the way he moved, heavy, slow, like the world itself was a weight he couldn't put down. He's not here to be famous, she thought. He doesn't care about the cameras. That alone made him more frightening than the 7. And in a quiet gap between sirens, she heard him speak again, almost like he was talking to someone who wasn't there. "Bruce," he muttered. The name hit her like a clue. Not Hulk, not monster, not hostile. A person, a human name. And somewhere deep inside that huge body, there was a man trying to breathe. The next morning, Vought decided it needed a win. Not a real win, a story win. A live win. Homelander demanded it. He demanded a rematch. He demanded a clean shot where he didn't look weak. Stan Edgar gave him a look that felt like a leash. "You will follow the plan," Stan said. Homelander's jaw twitched. "I am the plan." Stan did not blink. "Then don't fail." They built the stage fast. They picked a wide-open industrial zone outside the city. Fewer civilians, more control. More cameras. Fewer random phones catching angles Vought didn't like. They rolled in trucks with floodlights and big Vought banners. They brought a public safety zone that looked like a concert fence. And they brought the real weapon. A silver canister the size of a refrigerator. It was strapped into a launcher on a flatbed. A scientist patted it like it was a pet. "Soup-grade sedative gas," he told Ashley. "If it can slow him, it buys time. If it can't, it still gives us data." Ashley's eyes were bloodshot. "And if it makes him mad?" The scientist smiled like he did not think about if. "We will not be close," he said. Homelander hovered above the stage area like a spotlight. He was calmer on the outside now. He had practiced the face. Inside, he was boiling. He kept replaying the throw, the helpless second in the air. The sound of the crowd. He had never felt that. Not since he was a kid, and someone stronger had held him down in a lab. He would not feel it again. Not on camera. Not ever. The giant arrived because he was followed. He felt eyes in the sky. He felt machines tracking him. He felt people setting traps. He hated traps. He hated being watched. And he hated, most of all, that the world around him felt like it was always pushing his anger higher. He stepped into the industrial zone and stopped. The air smelled like oil and metal. Lights blazed. Cameras rolled. The 7 were waiting, lined up like action figures in a store window. Homelander floated front and center. Starlight stood a little behind, tension tight in her shoulders. She looked tired too, but her tiredness wasn't rage. It was worry. A-Train's face was stiff. He had a bruise along his jaw. He tried to hide it. Black Noir stood silent, ready. Homelander raised his arms for the cameras. "People of America," he called out, voice booming. "We've got this under control." The giant stared at them. He did not know their names. He did not know their roles. He only felt what they were. Pride, fear, hunger. A lie built out of smiles. Homelander pointed at him like he was pointing at a villain in a movie. "You," Homelander said. "You are done." The giant's fingers flexed. The ground under his feet made a low creak. He spoke, low. "Where are they?" Homelander's smile cracked. "Wrong answer," Homelander snapped. He launched forward again, faster than before. He hit the giant high, aiming to lift him off the ground. He wanted to show the world a clean takedown. The giant slid back, boots grinding into the concrete. Homelander grabbed for his throat. The giant caught Homelander's arm again. This time, he did not just hold it. He yanked. Homelander's body whipped forward. The giant drove a fist into Homelander's stomach. It was one punch. One. Homelander folded around it and flew backward like he had been kicked by a train. He slammed into a Vote banner tower. Steel bent. Lights exploded. The cameras caught everything. Starlight's heart dropped. She knew what came next. Homelander rose again, shaking, eyes red. The look on his face was not hero anger. It was panic anger, the kind that broke rules. He fired heat vision in a wide sweep. The beams cut across the ground toward the giant. The giant moved his head and shoulders, taking some hits, letting others pass. Each beam left glowing scars in the concrete. The giant did not fall. He took one step. The ground cracked. Starlight felt the shock in her teeth. The giant took another step. A nearby storage container slid off its stack and crashed down. Starlight ran toward it because she heard people screaming inside. She forced herself to focus, one problem at a time. A-Train moved too, but not toward the giant, toward the cameras. He grabbed a trapped worker and pulled him free fast, like a hero in a commercial. Starlight noticed it and felt sick. Noir went in low again, blades out. He attacked the giant's legs, trying to cut tendons. The blades bit in a little, then stopped like they hit something too dense. The giant's skin hardened. It was not armor. It was just him. The giant swung his leg back. He did not kick Noir full power. He still sent Noir flying 20 yards. Noir hit the ground and rolled, then rose again without a sound. Homelander screamed, "Now!" That was the signal. The truck-mounted launcher fired. The silver canister shot through the air and burst near the giant's chest. A thick cloud poured out fast, pale and swirling. It wrapped around the giant's face and shoulders. For a second, the giant blinked. For a second, his breathing changed. Ashley, watching from behind a shielded van, grabbed someone's arm. "It's working," she whispered. Then the giant's eyes narrowed. His nostrils flared. His lips pulled back. The sound that came out of him was not a roar of pain. It was a roar of offense. The cloud irritated him. It stung. It felt like someone trying to crawl inside his body. His anger jumped, and with it, the pressure around him jumped too. The metal fence lines rattled. The floodlights shook. Starlight felt her skin prickle like static. Homelander smiled again, thinking the giant was losing control. He was wrong. The giant slammed both hands into the ground. The shockwave was bigger than before. The gas cloud blew outward in every direction. It rolled over Vault security teams. It rolled over cameras. It rolled over the Seven. A-Train stumbled. Starlight fell to one knee. Noir caught himself low. Homelander got shoved backward mid-air like he hit a wall. The shockwave also hit the stacked containers. A full stack started to collapse. Starlight's eyes widened. "People!" she shouted, and she sprinted. She got under the first falling corner and shoved upward with all she had. Light burst from her hands as she braced. It slowed, but it was still too heavy. A second container began to slide. The giant saw it. He moved. He crossed the distance in a few long strides. He grabbed the falling stack and held it up like it was a shelf. His muscles tightened. The ground under him broke deeper, but he held. Starlight stared up at him, breathing hard. He saved them again, she thought, even while fighting, even while angry. He looked down at her, and for a second, she saw it. Not just rage, something behind it. A man's awareness, trapped in a storm. Starlight swallowed. "Bruce?" she said, quiet, testing the name. The giant's eyes flicked, like the name hit a nerve. His breathing slowed for a heartbeat. Then, Homelander's voice cut through everything. "You're looking at her now," Homelander snarled, floating back into position. "You care about her? Good. Because I can burn her." Starlight's blood went cold. That was real. That was who Homelander was when he was scared. The giant turned slowly toward Homelander. The air got heavier. Starlight felt her own fear and realized something worse. Homelander wasn't just threatening her. He was trying to aim the giant's anger like a weapon. Homelander fired heat vision straight at Starlight. It was a fast, cruel choice. Starlight threw her arms up. The beams hit and stopped. A green hand was in the way. The giant had stepped between them. Heat vision burned into his palm and forearm. His skin smoked. The smell was sharp. He did not move. He did not scream. He simply stared at Homelander over his own raised arm. Then he lowered his arm, and he took one step forward. Homelander drifted backward without thinking. The cameras caught that too. The crowd watching on screens across the country saw it. Homelander, America's top hero, backing up. The giant took another step. Concrete cracked. A low rumble spread through the zone. Not from machines, from him. Homelander tried to hold his ground. His face tightened. He forced a smile that looked like it hurt. "This is where you lose," Homelander said. He rushed forward again. This time, the giant did not throw him. He grabbed Homelander by the cape at the chest. The grip looked casual. Homelander's fists slammed into the giant's face, hard, fast. The giant's head moved a little. That was it. The giant leaned in close. Homelander's eyes widened because he realized something simple and terrible. He was not in control of this fight. The giant spoke into Homelander's face, so only he could hear. "You're not them," he growled. But you hurt people like them. Then the giant slammed Homelander down into the ground. Not a fancy move, not a combo. One slam. The concrete cratered. Homelander choked and coughed dust. Before Homelander could rise, the giant grabbed him again and dragged him across the ground like a broken doll. Starlight flinched, not because she loved Homelander, because she knew how this looked. This was the moment the public would stop believing in the Seven. The giant stopped dragging. He lifted Homelander up by the front of his suit. Homelander's eyes flicked to the cameras. Even now, he was thinking about how it looked. He tried to smile, but blood ran from his nose. The giant's face twisted with disgust. He did not crush Homelander. He could have. Starlight felt sure of it. Instead, the giant threw him. Not into a building, not into a crowd. Into open space, far away, like tossing trash off a road. Homelander flew, tumbling, and hit the side of a warehouse. The wall dented inward. He slid down and did not get up right away. A-Train stood frozen, breathing fast. Noir shifted like he wanted to attack, but his body hesitated for the first time. Starlight stood between the giant and the others without meaning to. She didn't even know why. Maybe because she had seen him block heat vision meant for her. Maybe because she was tired of lies. The giant looked around at the lights, the cameras, the banners. He understood something now. This wasn't a rescue team. This was a show. He turned away from them. Starlight's voice came out before she could stop it. "Wait," she called. The giant paused. Starlight stepped closer, slow, hands open. "I don't know who you are," she said. "But you don't have to do this here. Not like this." The giant looked at her, and for a moment, his eyes looked less like a storm. They looked like someone trapped in a storm. A rough voice, quieter, came out of him. "Help," it said. Just one word. Then the giant's face tightened again, like the man inside got pushed back. He turned and walked away. No one stopped him. Not because they were kind, because they couldn't. The cameras followed him until he was only a green dot on the horizon. Vought tried to cut the feed. It was too late. The world had seen the truth. The Seven could not control him. Vought could not sell him. And worse, for them, the giant had shown something that made people think. He had saved strangers, while their heroes were still trying to win on camera. Far behind, in the safe house, Butcher watched the end of the fight with a slow smile. "Now," he murmured, "this is a lever." MM did not smile back. He watched the green figure disappear and felt a cold weight settle in his chest. "That's not a lever," MM said. "That's a bomb." Butcher's eyes stayed bright. "Same thing," he replied. "Depends where you point it." And out in the open air, away from lights and banners, the giant kept walking. He did not know where he was. He did not know who these heroes were. But he knew one thing for sure. This world was full of people who hurt other people and called it normal. And somewhere deep inside him, a tired man named Bruce Banner was trying to hold the line. Because if he failed, this world would learn what Worldbreaker really meant. The city did not sleep after the green giant left. It talked. It filmed. It argued. It bought snacks and sat in front of screens like it was a big game. But nobody knew the rules. Nobody knew what could happen next. Inside Vought Tower, the crisis room lights stayed on all night. Ashley's voice was bright on camera. Too bright. The kind of bright that meant fear. "Last night's incident was a coordinated attack on public safety," she said, smiling hard. The Seven responded immediately. Many lives were saved. Behind her, a huge screen played a loop of starlight, pulling people away from falling rubble. It played A-Train carrying a crying child. It played Homelander landing in a heroic stance. It did not play the moment Homelander got grabbed. It did not play the throw. It did not play the way Homelander's heat vision cut across a street, like he did not care who was there. Those clips were already everywhere online. Ashley walked off stage the second the cameras went dark. Her smile fell like a mask. She turned and hissed, "Tell me you're deleting the raw footage." A tech worker swallowed. "We can't. It's already mirrored everywhere." Ashley's eyes darted to Stan Edgar. He sat in the same chair as Alwyn, like nothing could move him. "They're making memes," Ashley said, voice breaking. "They're calling it the Homelander toss." Stan did not react. "Memes don't matter," he said. "They do," Ashley snapped. Then she caught herself and lowered her voice fast. "They do when people stop believing." Stan looked at the main screen again. The green giant's face filled the wall. Dust on his skin. Tired eyes. A stare that looked past the camera. "What do we know?" Stan asked. A scientist stepped forward. His hands were shaking. But he tried to sound proud. "It isn't Compound V," he said. "It's a different kind of radiation. It's dense. It behaves like a living field around him. Our sensors struggle when he's close." Stan's fingers tapped once on the armrest. "Can we track him?" "We have drones following at distance," the scientist said. "But if we get too close, the readings spike and the drones lose stability." Ashley threw up her hands. "So we can't follow him, we can't sell him, and we can't delete him." A marketing manager raised a timid hand, like a student asking permission. "We need a name," he said. "Public response is better when Ashley whirled on him." "A name?" The man flinched but kept going, because this was his job, and jobs were how he survived. "Yes," he said. "Right now people are calling him Green Giant and Rage Monster. We should take control. Something strong. Something that feels..." Stan's eyes shifted to him. "Do not brand a problem you do not own," Stan said. The marketing manager shut his mouth. Stan looked back at the scientist. "I want a sample." The scientist swallowed. "We can attempt sedation again." Stan's voice stayed flat. "You already saw what that did." The scientist nodded quickly. Then, "We need a counter. Something that can hold him, even briefly." Ashley stared. "You mean a new soup?" The scientist's eyes flicked to his tablet. "We have been discussing a hybrid approach. Compound V reacts strongly with certain radiation types. If we replicate the energy profile..." Stan lifted a hand. The scientist stopped. "We are not talking about theory," Stan said. "We are talking about results." He stood and buttoned his jacket. "Build me a result," he said. Ashley's mouth opened. "Stan, if you make something like him and it breaks loose..." Stan's gaze was calm and cold. "Then we build a leash," he said. "That's what we do." He walked out. Ashley stared at the screens again. The giant's face did not blink. On another screen, Homelander sat alone in a private room, jaw tight, eyes red, breathing like a trapped animal. Ashley whispered, almost to herself, "This is going to make him worse." Nobody answered. In a small, ugly safe house across town, Huey watched the same clips on a cracked phone screen. He replayed the throw again. He hated that his thumb kept doing it, like his brain could make the moment safer if he watched it enough times. On the couch, Butcher sat with his boots on the coffee table, acting like it was funny. MM did not laugh. He was cleaning a gun, slow and careful, like it helped him think. Frenchie had a mess of cables and a laptop open. He kept glancing at a map with scribbled notes and little numbers. Kimiko stood near the window, arms folded, watching the street outside like she expected Vought vans to roll up any second. Huey cleared his throat. "So, we're not going to talk about how that thing could kill all of us by accident." Butcher looked at him like Huey had asked if water was wet. course we're gonna talk about it, Butcher said. Right after we talk about what it can do to Vought. MM's voice was tight. If you try to point him at Vought, you point him at the city too. Butcher's smile was small. That's why we do it smart. Huey's hands trembled. What's smart about a walking earthquake? Frenchie finally spoke, eyes on his screen. It is not just strength, he said. There is a field, a pressure, like the world is bending a little near him. That is why the drones wobble. MM looked up. Can you track it? Frenchie nodded once. Maybe, if we build a sensor that reads the spikes, but it will cost. Huey blinked. Cost? Like money cost? Butcher snorted. Everything costs, mate. Huey threw his hands out. We don't have money. Butcher leaned forward. You want a receipt, Huey, or you want the world to stop being owned by Vought? Huey opened his mouth, then closed it. It was a stupid question. He hated that it was a stupid question. MM pointed his gun at the floor, not aiming at anyone, just making his point sharp. This isn't about money, MM said. This is about bodies. If that thing loses control, people die. Kimiko's eyes flicked toward MM. She touched her own chest once, then made a small fist. She understood lose control. Butcher's voice softened, only a little. Then we don't make him lose control, he said. We make him choose. MM stared. Choose what? Butcher's grin returned. Choose who the real monsters are. Huey swallowed. We don't even know his name. Frenchie glanced up. Starlight said a name on the feed, he said. She said, Bruce. Butcher's brow lifted. Bruce, he repeated, tasting it. MM's eyes narrowed. That means there's a man inside, Huey whispered. That makes it worse. MM shook his head slowly. No, that might be the only thing that makes it better. Butcher stood, grabbing his coat. All right, he said. We find Bruce. MM stood too. We do not corner him. Butcher looked back with a hard smile. We don't corner him, he agreed. We just get close enough to talk. Kimiko opened the door for them, like she already knew where this was going. Frenchie packed his cables. Huey sighed and followed, because fear did not stop the world from moving. Annie January did not go home that night. She sat in her apartment, lights off, TV on mute, watching the clips roll by. She watched herself saving people. She watched Homelander screaming at a monster that didn't care about him. She watched the green giant block heat Vision meant for her. That part made her chest feel tight. It shouldn't have, she told herself. He's dangerous. But he didn't have to do that. Annie stared at the moment again. He didn't have to do that. Her phone buzzed. A message from Vought PR. Do not comment. Do not admit doubt. Follow the script. Annie's fingers clenched. Another message. Homelander this time. You embarrassed me. Annie's mouth went dry. Then another line came. If you go near him again without me, I'll make you regret it. Annie stared at the screen until her eyes burned. She put the phone down and took a slow breath. Then she grabbed a backpack and stuffed it with simple things. Water, a small first aid kit, a hoodie, a cheap flashlight, a printed map because she didn't trust Vought to not watch her phone. She paused at the mirror. Her face looked older than yesterday. Not in years. In weight. She whispered, He said help. She did not know if she had heard it right, but she believed she had. She walked out. She did not tell Vought. Far from the city, the green giant kept moving. He walked until the sounds faded. Until he could no longer hear sirens. Until the air smelled less like smoke. The pressure around him eased a little, but it never left. Inside him, the man named Bruce Banner fought to rise like someone pushing up through deep water. When Banner got a second, he saw broken images. A city that wasn't his, People wearing hero costumes like they were work uniforms. A flying man with a smile that didn't match his eyes. Banner's thoughts came in short bursts. Not safe, not Avengers, not my world. Then the anger surged again, and Hulk's mind filled the space. Hulk did not like being hunted. Hulk did not like being watched. Hulk did not like the loud flying man. And Hulk did not like the way this world felt dirty in its bones. He stopped near a line of trees and stared into the dark woods. Quiet, his mind said. Quiet. He took a step inside the trees. Branches snapped like thin sticks. Hulk moved deeper until the city lights were only a faint glow behind him. He lowered himself near a rocky hill and sat, back against stone. His breathing slowed. For a moment, it worked. For a moment, Banner's voice reached the surface again. Banner's eyes looked out through Hulk's face. He saw the woods. He saw the quiet. He whispered, "Okay. Okay." We breathe. He lifted Hulk's hand and pressed it to the ground, feeling the vibration of life under dirt. "If we can stay calm," Banner whispered, "we can figure out where we are." His throat tightened. "And how to get home." A twig snapped somewhere behind him. Banner's heart jumped. Hulk's muscles tensed without asking. And the quiet shattered. Annie moved through the trees, slow and careful. She kept her light off most of the time. The moon gave enough. Her boots sank in damp soil. Her breath made small clouds in the cold. She heard it before she saw it. A low rumble, not thunder. Something deeper. Then she saw him. He was sitting against stone like a statue, huge and still. Annie stopped at the edge of a clearing and held up both hands. "I'm not here to fight," she said, loud enough to carry, not loud enough to sound like a threat. The giant's head turned. His eyes locked onto her. Annie forced herself not to step back. "I'm the one from earlier," she said. "The one you blocked the heat vision for." The giant stared like he was deciding if those words mattered. Annie swallowed. "You said a name. You said Bruce." The giant's eyes flicked. Something changed in his face. Just a crack. Annie took a slow step forward. "Is that you?" she asked. "Is your name Bruce?" The giant's breathing got heavier. Annie stopped moving. She could feel fear climb up her spine, but she kept her voice steady. "I'm not with them," she said. "Not like that. I'm trying to help people. That's why I'm here." The giant's jaw clenched. His fists dug into the dirt. Annie saw the ground tremble around his fingers. Then, in a rougher voice than she expected, he spoke. "Leave," he said. Annie nodded fast. "Okay. If you want me to leave, I will." She set the backpack down and slid it forward a little. "But I'm leaving this," she said. "Water, bandages, just basic stuff." The giant stared at the bag like it might be a trick. Annie added, "No cameras, no deal, no PR." For a long second, the giant did not move. Then his shoulders sagged a tiny amount. His voice came quieter, like it hurt to use it. "Help," he said again. Annie's throat tightened. She took one careful step closer, not close enough to touch him. "How?" she asked. The giant's eyes drifted, like he was listening to someone inside his own head. Then he spoke, slower, with effort. "Stop them," he said. Annie's mouth opened. "Vought?" The giant's eyes narrowed at the name, like he didn't understand it, but hated it anyway. Annie tried again. "The company, the suits, the people who set up the cameras." The giant's nostrils flared. He understood that. He growled, low. "Lies." Annie nodded once. "Yeah," she said. "Lies." For a moment, it felt like they were both standing in the same truth. Then a sharp whine cut through the trees. Annie's eyes darted up. A drone, small, quiet, black. It hovered at the edge of the clearing, trying to stay hidden in branches. Annie's stomach dropped. "No," she whispered. "They followed me." The giant's gaze snapped to the drone. The air pressure around him surged. The drone wobble stuttered as its stabilizers fought the sudden force shift. Annie backed away from the giant, hands up again. "I didn't mean to bring it," she said fast. The giant stood. The trees seemed smaller around him when he rose. The drone began to pull back, like it suddenly remembered fear. The giant picked up a rock the size of a small car tire. He threw it with a short motion. The rock hit the drone dead center. The drone burst into pieces, falling like broken insects. Silence returned. Annie stared at the falling debris. Then she heard the second sound, a distant hum. More drones. Many. Annie's face went pale. "They're coming," she said. The giant's shoulders rose and fell once. He looked at Annie, and this time, his eyes were not just rage, they were warning. "Go," he said. Annie grabbed her backpack strap, then hesitated. "What do I call you?" she asked. The giant's mouth moved like he was trying to remember how humans did names. A rough voice came out, almost like two voices pushed together. "Banner," it said. Annie's breath caught. "Bruce Banner," she repeated softly. The giant's eyes flicked, like that was correct and painful. Then his face hardened again. He turned toward the trees, toward the coming hum. Annie backed away, then ran. Not away from him. Away from the drones. Because she knew what would happen when they reached him, and she feared the world would make the wrong man pay for it. Vought's Black Ops unit did not wear bright logos. They moved through the woods in dark gear with quiet boots. Black Noir led them. He did not speak. He did not need to. Their headsets gave them numbers and directions. Their drones fed them heat signatures. A handler's voice came through their earpieces from far away, calm like an office call. "We want him contained," the handler said. "Non-lethal if possible. Primary objective is a sample. Secondary objective is sedate and transport." Noir's head tilted slightly, as if he was listening harder. He had fought the giant once. He knew what transport meant. It meant fantasy. They reached the clearing just as the pressure hit them like a wall. Trees shook, leaves rattled. One soldier stumbled and caught himself, eyes wide. Noir raised a hand. "Stop!" The giant stood in the open now, facing them. He did not look confused. He looked ready. The handler's voice came again. "Deploy the gas." A soldier fired a canister. It hissed as it burst, spraying pale mist toward the giant's chest. The mist touched the giant's skin. The giant's eyes narrowed. Then he inhaled. Not on accident. On purpose. Like he wanted to understand the attack. His chest rose. His jaw tightened. Then he exhaled. A single breath blew the mist away in a hard wave. The mist rolled back into the soldiers' faces. They coughed. They gagged. Their eyes watered. The giant took one step forward. The ground cracked under his foot. Noir moved. Fast. Precise. Straight toward the giant's side. He went for the same angles again. Joints, balance, leverage. The giant's hand shot out and caught Noir's shoulder mid-strike. Noir twisted, trying to slip free. The giant held him like a child trying to wiggle out of a grip. Then the giant did something that made the soldiers freeze. He did not crush Noir. He pulled Noir close and stared into his blank mask. "You," he growled, like he remembered. Noir's head tilted up. For a second, they were face to face. Then the giant shoved Noir backward, not as an attack, but as a warning. Noir hit the ground and rolled, then sprang up again. The soldiers opened fire. Bullets hit the giant's chest and shoulders and fell to the ground like metal rain. The giant did not flinch. He swung his arm in a wide arc, not even a punch, just a swing. The air itself hit the soldiers like a moving wall. Men flew backward. One slammed into a tree. Another crashed through brush and lay still, groaning. Noir stayed upright, feet spread, absorbing the shock. He looked at the soldiers. Then he looked back at the giant. Noir did not retreat, but he also did not rush in again. The handler's voice came tight. Fall back now. Noir backed away one step, then two, eyes never leaving the giant. The giant stood still. He let them go. But the message was clear. Come closer, and you die. Noir turned and vanished into the trees with his team. Behind them, in Vote Tower, Stan Edgar watched the feed. His face did not change, but his eyes sharpened. Begin Phase 2, he said. A scientist beside him nodded with a trembling smile. We already have a candidate, the scientist said. Project Goliath is ready for the next stage. Stan stared at the green giant on the screen. Good, he said. If we cannot buy the monster. He paused, voice smooth. We will build our own. And somewhere out in the woods, Bruce Banner's name finally existed in this world. It was no longer just a sound Starlight guessed. It was a fact Vought wanted to own. The place Bruce chose was quiet for 3 days, a valley with thick trees and a rocky ridge that blocked wind and noise. No roads nearby, no people. Banner came out more often there. It happened in short windows, like the tide pulling back. One morning, Banner woke up face down in dirt, hands aching, head pounding. His skin was human again. His clothes were shredded. His body was thin compared to what he had been. He sat up slowly and looked around. A ring of crushed trees marked where Hulk had walked. The ground was cracked in long lines. Banner swallowed hard. Okay, he whispered. Okay. We did it. We got away. He forced his breathing steady. In through nose, out through mouth. Slow. He did not have his lab. He did not have tools. He did not have his world. But he had 2 things: quiet and time. Banner spent the day doing what Banner always did when he was terrified. He tried to make a plan. He piled rocks into a small shelter against the ridge. He dragged branches for a roof. He found a stream and drank with shaking hands. He talked to himself in short, firm sentences. Stay calm, he said. No crowds, no threats, no loud noise. We keep Hulk asleep. At night, he lay in the shelter and stared at the dark. He thought of Annie's face, the way she looked at him like she saw a person. He thought of Homelander's eyes, the way those eyes looked like a hungry kid in a grown man's body. Banner whispered, "This world is broken." He did not mean the buildings. He meant the rules. He meant the lies. On the 4th day, the first sign came, a distant thump. Banner sat up, heart racing. Another thump, not footsteps, helicopters. Banner's breathing sped up. He clenched his fists and forced them to open again. No, he whispered, not again. He stood and stepped outside. The valley was still, but the air felt tense, like it did before a storm. Banner turned in place, listening. Then he saw it, a flicker of light between trees, a drone. His stomach dropped. He backed up, slow, hands raised like that would help. The drone hovered, watching. Banner whispered, "Please." Then another drone appeared, and another. Banner's pulse hammered. His skin prickled. He tried to think through it. He tried to talk himself down. "They're machines," he said out loud. "They're not a threat. They're just watching." But being watched was the threat. The anger rose like a flood. Banner's hands shook. His vision blurred at the edges. He tried one last thing. He closed his eyes and thought of the bus. The people inside, the weight in his hands as Hulk had held it steady. He thought, I can choose. I can choose. The drones moved closer. A speaker crackled from one of them. Bruce Banner, a calm voice said. We would like to talk. Banner's eyes snapped open. They know my name. Fear slammed into him so hard it felt like a punch. His control snapped. His body bent forward as muscles surged. Bones shifted. Skin turned green. The ground under his feet cracked. Hulk stood in Banner's place, breathing hard, eyes blazing. The drones backed up in a hurry. Hulk's voice rumbled out. No! He jumped. Not a long run, not a build-up, just one jump straight up through the trees. He hit the ridge and landed on stone like it was flat ground. He looked down into the valley. More movement, more people, not just drones. Men in dark gear fanning out, quiet boots, guns, black noir. Hulk's lip curled. You, he growled. Noir froze on the valley floor, head lifting. They locked eyes. Then the ground behind Noir exploded. A huge metal door in the hillside blasted outward. Hulk's eyes narrowed. That wasn't there before. Or maybe it was hidden. A hidden facility. A hidden problem. And now it was opening like something inside was trying to get out. Butcher did not like forests. Too many places to hide. Too many places for someone to get behind you. Still, he crouched in the brush with binoculars, watching the valley like it was a battlefield. Was beside him, jaw tight. Frenchie held a homemade sensor rig, wires taped to a flashlight and a cheap screen. Huey stood a few feet back, trying not to sneeze. Kimiko was a shadow at the edge, eyes alert. Butcher whispered, See? Told you. Vought's here. MM's voice was low. We should leave. Butcher's eyes stayed locked. Not now. Frenchie pointed at his screen. The spikes, he whispered. They are rising fast. Huey swallowed. Because he's angry. Kimiko's eyes flicked upward. She saw the green figure on the ridge. So big. So still. Then she saw the metal door blow open behind the soldiers. Kimiko's face tightened. She knew that look on a place that hurt people. Butcher leaned in, eyes narrowing. What is that? He muttered. MM's face went pale. That's not a normal door. Frenchie whispered. It is Vought. Hidden. They do this. Huey's voice shook. Why is there a secret lab in the woods? Butcher gave a short laugh with no humor. Because they're Vought. Then the thing stepped out of the open door. Huey froze. It was not a man. Not fully. It was huge. Like Hulk huge. But wrong in shape. Too uneven. One arm longer than the other. Skin gray-green, with veins that glowed faintly under it. Its eyes looked empty and angry at the same time. It took one step forward, and the ground hissed like something hot touched wet dirt. Frenchie stared, mouth open. Mon Dieu, whispered. What did they make? The creature lifted its head and screamed. The scream was not loud like a siren. It was loud like tearing metal. Birds exploded out of trees in a black wave. The Vought soldiers panicked and opened fire. Bullets hit its chest and did nothing. The creature slammed its fist down. 2 soldiers flew like they had been kicked by a giant boot. Butcher's eyes shone. Now that, he muttered, is Vought panicking. Grabbed his shoulder. Butcher! Look! Butcher looked up. Hulk had turned his full attention to the creature. Hulk's posture changed. He wasn't just angry now. He was focused, like he had recognized a kind of danger he understood, a danger that could spread. Hulk leapt down from the ridge. He hit the valley floor with a crash that threw dirt outward in a wide circle. He stood between the creature and the soldiers. The creature stared at Hulk. Then it lunged. Fast. It slammed into Hulk's chest and drove him back several yards, plowing furrows in dirt. Trees snapped and fell. Huey's eyes went wide. It can move like that, Frenchie whispered. They made something that can touch him. MM's face was hard. And now it's loose. Hulk roared. He grabbed the creature by the shoulders and shoved it back. The creature dug its feet in and held. The ground smoked under its soles. Then it headbutted Hulk. Hulk's head snapped back. For a second, Huey thought, "Oh my God," it hurt him. But Hulk's face didn't show pain. It showed anger waking up. Hulk swung a fist. The punch landed on the creature's ribs with a deep, heavy sound. The creature flew sideways and smashed through 2 trees. It hit the ground and rolled. Then it stood again. It shook its head like a dog shaking off water. But there was a difference now. One of its ribs bent wrong. It was strong, but it wasn't built right. It was a rushed weapon. A product. Hulk took 1 step forward. The ground cracked. The creature charged again. This time, Hulk met it head on. He caught it mid-charge and lifted it off the ground. The creature kicked and clawed, but Hulk held it like a struggling bear. Hulk looked down at it, eyes narrow. "Bad copy," he growled. He slammed it down into the dirt. The impact shook the valley. But the creature didn't stop. It grabbed Hulk's ankle and yanked. Hulk stumbled 1 step. The creature rolled up and punched Hulk's knee. Hulk's leg bent slightly. Not because he was weak, because the creature was heavy and desperate and hitting a joint with full force. Hulk snarled. He grabbed the creature's arm and twisted. The creature screamed, arm bending in a way that made Huey flinch. Hulk did not keep twisting. He stopped before the arm snapped completely. He looked past the creature. He saw Vote soldiers backing away. He saw Black Noir watching, silent. And he saw something else. Inside the open door, there were cages. Huey saw them too. His stomach turned. People in dirty clothes, thin arms through bars, eyes wide with fear. MM's breath caught. "Oh no!" Kimiko's hand clenched into a fist, so tight her knuckles went white. Butcher's voice went very quiet. "They've been doing this here." The creature slammed its head into Hulk's stomach again. Hulk grunted. His eyes flicked back to the creature, then to the cages. His anger shifted. Not wild, directed. Hulk grabbed the creature by the throat and lifted it. The creature clawed at Hulk's wrist. Hulk held it up and looked straight into its eyes. "You hurt people," Hulk growled. "Like them." The creature's mouth opened, drool and breath steaming. It wasn't thinking. It was just rage and pain. Hulk's grip tightened. Huey's heart pounded. "Is he going to?" MM cut him off, low. "No. Look at his eyes." Huey looked. Hulk wasn't enjoying it. Hulk looked like he was trying to decide the least terrible option, because if he crushed it, it might die. But if it lived, it might run into a town and kill people. A siren sounded far away. Not a city siren, a facility alarm. More doors inside the hillside started to unlock with loud clanks. Frenchie's face went pale. "There is more," he whispered. "There is always more." The creature twisted in Hulk's grip and spat a thick greenish fluid. It hit the ground and smoked. Huey's eyes widened. That's not normal." MM's voice turned sharp. "That's toxic." Butcher's gaze snapped to the cages. If that stuff gets on those people, Hulk saw it too. The creature wasn't just strong, it was a hazard. Hulk moved fast. He didn't crush the creature, he threw it. Not toward the cages, not toward the soldiers. He threw it deep into the empty part of the valley, away from everyone. The creature hit the ground hard and rolled, leaving a scorched trail in dirt. Hulk followed in 2 long jumps. He landed between the creature and the facility again. He spread his stance like a wall. Hulk roared, louder than before. It wasn't just anger, it was a warning. "Stay away from them!" The creature screamed back and charged again. This time, Hulk did not meet it with just fists. He grabbed the ground. He ripped up a huge slab of earth and rock like it was a rug. He swung it and slapped the creature sideways. The creature smashed into a boulder and cracked it. It slid down, stunned for a heartbeat. That heartbeat mattered. Because behind Hulk, the Vought soldiers started firing again. Not at the creature. At the cages. Butcher saw it and snapped. "They're going to kill the witnesses!" surged forward, grabbing Butcher's arm. "We're outgunned!" Butcher yanked free. "Not today." Kimiko moved first. She sprinted through the brush like a knife thrown low. Frenchie cursed and ran after her with his gear. Huey hesitated, then ran too because he hated himself when he didn't. Followed, swearing under his breath. Butcher was already moving, eyes hard. They didn't charge the giant. They charged the facility. Because this was their fight. Kimiko hit the first soldier from behind and dropped him before he could shout. She moved in silence, fast and clean, like she was made of sharp corners. Frenchie covered her with a small pistol, hands shaking, trying to be brave. Huey stuck close, heart in his throat. Butcher shot one soldier in the leg and kicked his rifle away, then slammed him into a wall. Grabbed another and slammed him down, keeping his body between the man and the cages. "Open the cages!" shouted at Frenchie. Frenchie fumbled with a keypad on the door. "I'm trying! It is coded!" Butcher looked at the lock and scoffed. "Move!" He pulled out a small charge from his pocket. It looked like something he had stolen from a military supply closet. Huey stared. "You had that?" Butcher didn't look at him. "I always have that." He stuck it on the lock and pulled everyone back. The charge popped with a sharp bang. The door swung open. Inside, the smell hit them. Metal. Sweat. Chemicals. Huey gagged. People in cages flinched away from the light like it hurt. One woman grabbed the bars and whispered, "Please." MM's face twisted. He hated Vought with a fresh kind of heat now. "Get them out," said. Frenchie rushed to the cages, shaking, trying keys, breaking locks. Kimiko ripped one cage door open with her hands when the lock wouldn't budge. Butcher scanned the hall. More footsteps echoed deeper inside. More soldiers. He gritted his teeth. "We need to move." Huey looked back toward the valley. He could still hear the fight. Huge impacts. Trees snapping. A deep roar that made his skin prickle. He saw Hulk slam the creature down again, hard enough to make dirt jump. The creature kept getting up. Huey whispered, "How is it still moving?" Answered without looking. "Because Vought doesn't know when to stop." Outside, Black Noir appeared at the facility entrance, like a shadow cut into shape. He saw them. He didn't hesitate. He moved. But before Noir could reach them, a bright flash of light hit the front wall. Starlight. Annie landed at the facility edge, breathing hard, face tense. Her eyes locked onto and Huey for a split second. Then to Butcher. Then back to the cages. Annie's jaw tightened. "You were right," she said, voice sharp. "They're doing it again." Butcher's mouth curled. "Took you long enough." Annie didn't answer. She pointed at the cages. "Get them out." Noir rushed in. Annie turned and blasted a wave of light that forced Noir back a step. Noir recovered instantly, arms up, moving again. Annie's eyes widened. She didn't want to fight here, not with prisoners behind her. Noir went around, trying to slip past. Kimiko met him. They collided in a blur of fists. This was a fight with no speeches. Just force, speed, and hate. Huey dragged a cage door open with and helped a man stumble out. The man's legs shook like he might fold. Huey held him anyway. "Go," Huey said. "Just go." The man stared at him like he couldn't believe someone was telling him to run. Then he ran. Outside, the creature's scream rose again. It had stopped fighting just Hulk. Now it was trying to move past Hulk, toward the facility, toward the cages, toward the people. Hulk saw it. Hulk's face tightened. He could end it fast if he wanted. He could smash it into pulp. He could break the valley. He could break the world. But there were people behind him, small, weak, trapped. Hulk's anger surged, but his choice stayed clear. Hulk jumped and landed in front of the creature again. He spread his arms slightly, like a barrier. "No," he growled. The creature slammed into him, head first. Hulk slid back inches, feet carving trenches. The facility wall behind Hulk cracked from the pressure. Huey saw it and felt his stomach drop. If the wall collapses, those people die. Hulk clenched his teeth. He pushed back. He lifted the creature by its shoulders and drove it away from the wall, step by heavy step. Each step cracked the ground. The creature clawed at Hulk's face, leaving shallow grooves like scratches in hard rubber. Hulk didn't care. He pushed it out into open space again. Then he did something that surprised everyone watching. He didn't just hit it. He grabbed it and jumped. Straight up. The leap blasted a ring of dirt outward. He carried the creature into the air like it weighed nothing. He turned midair and aimed far away, toward an empty stretch of land beyond the valley. Then he threw it. The creature flew like a missile and crashed into the far hillside, making rock burst outward. Hulk landed hard. He didn't chase right away. He turned back toward the facility. He looked at the cages. He saw the small figures running out, guided by the humans and the glowing woman. Hulk's face softened for a second. Then he heard another sound, a deeper rumble from inside the hillside. More doors, more locks, more products waking up. Hulk's eyes narrowed. This wasn't just a fight. This was a factory, and it was still running. By the time the sun dipped low, the valley looked like a war zone. Trees lay broken like matchsticks. The facility entrance was scorched and dented. A trail of freed prisoners staggered into the woods, guided by MM and Huey and Frenchie. Annie stood at the edge, chest rising and falling fast, hair messy, eyes bright with anger and fear. Butcher watched the hillside doors with narrowed eyes. Kimiko wiped blood from her lip and stared at Noir, who had backed off into the trees again, silent and unreadable. The creature, Project Goliath, though none of them knew the name yet, was not dead. It had crawled out of the far hillside crater and vanished into the wilderness, moving on instinct. Hulk stood in the center of the ruined valley, breathing slow. He had won the space. He had not solved the problem. Annie stepped closer to him, stopping at a safe distance. "You didn't kill it," she said quietly. Hulk looked at her. His voice was rough, but calmer than before. "Hurt," he said. "It hurts. It runs. It hurts more people." Annie nodded, swallowing. "Yeah." Hulk's eyes moved to the facility. "Bad place," he growled. Butcher's voice cut in, sharp. "Bad company." Hulk's head turned toward Butcher. Annie tensed, ready for Hulk to explode. But Hulk didn't attack. He just stared at Butcher like he was measuring him. "Liar men," Hulk said. "Make copy. Make pain." Butcher's mouth tightened. For once, he didn't have a joke. "No argument," he muttered. MM stepped up beside Annie, keeping his hands visible. "We got them out," MM said, voice steady. "They're alive because you held the line." Hulk stared at MM. Then, slowly, he looked away, like praise didn't fit him. Huey came up behind MM, breathing hard, face pale. He looked at Hulk and forced words out. "Thank you," Huey said. Hulk glanced at him. Huey felt his knees want to shake, but he stood anyway. Hulk's eyes narrowed, like he was trying to understand why a small human would stand in front of him and talk like that. Then Hulk grunted, almost like it was an answer. A distant helicopter sound rose. Not just one, several. Vought was coming back with more people, more weapons, more cameras, more lies. Butcher looked at Annie. "You got proof?" he asked. Annie's jaw tightened. Not enough, she said. They'll call it a chemical plant accident. Frenchie held up his sensor rig. Screen cracked. I recorded data, he said. Energy, doors, locks. Maybe it helps. Looked at the hillside, eyes dark. Even if we show the world, Vought will spin it. Butcher's gaze slid to Hulk. Not if the world sees him, Butcher said softly. Not if the world believes something bigger than Vought exists. Annie's eyes snapped to him. Do not use him, she warned. Butcher met her stare. He's already in it, he said. None of us get to stay out. Hulk's posture shifted. He heard the helicopters. His breathing deepened. The pressure in the air started to rise again. Annie stepped forward fast and held up her hands. Bruce, she said, using the name like a rope. Listen to me. Not here. Not now. We need to move. Hulk's eyes flicked. For a second, the rage slowed. He looked at Annie, then at the freed prisoners disappearing into trees, then at the facility, then at the sky. He made a sound deep in his chest, like a decision grinding into place. Hulk turned away from the valley. He started walking into the thicker woods, away from the coming helicopters. Annie looked at the others. He's leaving, Huey whispered. MM's voice was low. He's choosing not to make this worse. Butcher watched Hulk's back, eyes sharp. He's choosing, Butcher agreed. Then his mouth curled in a way that wasn't fully happy. And Vought's going to hate that. Behind them, the first helicopter lights cut through the treetops. In the woods, Hulk kept moving, trying to find quiet again. But quiet was getting harder to find, because now this world had a new truth. Vought could build heroes. Vought could build monsters. But they couldn't build a leash for the real thing. Not yet. And somewhere out there, a broken copy was loose in the wild, carrying poison in its blood, angry at everything it saw. That meant the next move would not be a clean fight on a stage. It would be a chase, a trap, and a test of what Bruce Banner could live with before the Worldbreaker woke up fully. 2 weeks changed the country more than 2 years ever had. Not because Vought suddenly told the truth. They didn't. It changed because people had seen a flying god get handled like he was nothing. They had seen a monster save strangers while the heroes posed for cameras. Vought tried to drown that truth in noise. They pushed new clips every hour. They paid for expert panels. They sponsored a morning show segment called Stay Safe, Green Event Edition. They sold cheap shirts online that said, Heroes Protect, and the 7 stand strong. A marketing guy even tried to pitch a toy line. Ashley threw the pitch binder across a room and screamed, No one is buying a plushie of the thing that threw Homelander. Then, 2 days later, Vought's store quietly posted a limited edition keychain anyway. In the woods, far from the screens, Bruce Banner tried to keep his hands from shaking. He had built a routine out of scraps. Wake up. Check breathing. Count heartbeats. Drink water. Move slow. Avoid loud noise. Avoid crowds. Avoid fear. It was simple. It was also exhausting. He kept a journal on torn paper wrapped in plastic. He wrote in short lines, because long lines turned into spirals in his mind. New world. Vought. Heroes are products. Violence is normal. Keep calm. Keep Hulk asleep. Sometimes he woke up as Hulk again, sitting in the same place, staring at the same trees, like the trees had insulted him. Sometimes he woke up as Banner, bruised and hungry, with dirt under his nails and no memory of walking miles. It wasn't clean, but it was something. The worst part was the pressure. Not just Hulk's pressure, the world's pressure. Drones came every few days now, always far away, always watching. Banner could feel them even when he couldn't see them. Like a mosquito whine behind the skull. And when Banner felt watched, he felt trapped. And when he felt trapped, the anger rose. He hated that. He hated how predictable it was. One evening, he saw a figure at the edge of the trees before he heard a sound. A woman in a hoodie, blonde hair tucked up, hands visible. Annie. Starlight, the world called her. But she didn't look like Starlight out here. She looked like a tired young woman who refused to quit. Banner didn't step forward. He didn't step back. He just stood still and tried to keep his breath smooth. Annie stopped at a respectful distance. "No cameras," she said. "No vote." Banner's voice came out dry. "You shouldn't be here." "I know," she said, "but you shouldn't be alone." Banner almost laughed. It came out as a rough breath. "Alone is safer," he said. "For you," Annie said. "Maybe. Not for everybody else." Banner's eyes narrowed. "What happened?" Annie's face tightened. "Something is loose," she said. Banner's stomach sank. He already knew what she meant. "The copy," he said. Annie nodded once. "It attacked a small town last night," she said. "Not on the news. Vought covered it up fast. They called it a chemical spill." Banner's mouth went cold. "People." "Some died," Annie said. She didn't soften it. She didn't make it pretty. "More would have died if it had reached the school." Banner closed his eyes. He saw a bus tipping. He saw kids behind glass. He whispered, "I can't." Annie stepped forward half a pace, not pushing, just holding ground. "Bruce," she said, gentle but firm. "I'm not asking you to fix the world. I'm asking you to stop the next fire." Banner's chest rose too fast. He forced it down. "You think I can control him," he said. Annie didn't lie. "I think you're trying," she said. "And I think that matters." Banner opened his eyes again. "How do you know where it is?" Annie pulled out a folded paper map with circles marked in pen. "I've been listening," she said. "Not to Vought, to people who got away, to whispers." She hesitated, then added, "And the boys have sensors. One of them is good with tracking weird signals." Banner's jaw tightened. "Butcher." Annie's eyes flicked. "You know the name." "I know the type," Banner said. His voice was sharper now. "He wants to use Hulk like a bomb." Annie's face stayed steady. "He might," she admitted. "But his team saved people in that facility. They didn't have to." Banner didn't answer. He didn't want to admit that complexity was the hardest part. Annie held the map out. "This town," she said. "It's moving east. It's leaving. Burns on the ground. Poison in water. It's like it's angry at everything." Banner stared at the circle on the paper. Then he whispered, almost to himself, "This is my fault." Annie's voice turned sharp. "No," she said. "Vought did this." Banner flinched at the certainty. Annie leaned in just a little. "Look at me," she said. "They made it. They let it out. They lied about it. That's on them." Banner's throat tightened. He nodded once, very small. "Okay," he said. "I'll go." Annie let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. Then she said the next thing, like she was stepping onto thin ice. "They're going to try to trap you," she said. Banner's eyes lifted. "Who?" Annie didn't need to say it, but she did anyway. "Vought," she said. "The government. Homelander. All of them." Banner stared at the trees beyond her, like he could see the whole world through bark and leaves. Then he spoke the truth he hated. "If they corner me," he said, "Hulk will come out." Annie nodded. "Then we don't let them corner you," she said. "We move first." Banner looked down at the map again. His fingers trembled. He forced them still. He whispered, "All right." And deep inside him something shifted, like a giant in a cage had heard the word, fight. Butcher had never liked plans that depended on hope. Hope was a soft thing. Hope was what people said right before they got killed. But he did like timing. He liked leverage. He liked pressure applied to the right nerve. He stood in a rented van with cheap tinted windows, watching a Vought warehouse from across the road. Sat in the front seat, arms crossed, jaw clenched. Frenchie's sensor rig sat between them on the dash, humming softly. Huey was in the back with a laptop and a stack of printed receipts, because Huey could not help himself. "This van cost how much?" Huey hissed. Butcher didn't look back. "Hush." Huey waved a paper. "It's a daily rate, and the insurance doesn't." Butcher cut him off. "If we die, you can ask for a refund in hell." Didn't laugh. He didn't even blink. "We're not doing this," said. Butcher glanced at him. "Doing what?" "You know what," said. "You're trying to pull that green guy into the city." Butcher smiled like had just complimented him. "I'm trying to pull the green guy into Vought," Butcher corrected. "There's a difference." M's voice hardened. "There are people in that building?" Butcher shrugged. "And there are monsters in suits in that building." Leaned closer, eyes hard. "You keep talking like those are the same," said. "They're not. Not if you're trying to be better." Butcher's smile faded for a moment. The word better always annoyed him. He looked out at the warehouse again. Inside, trucks moved. Guards walked the fence. Cameras rotated like slow eyes. Frenchie spoke softly. "I have signal," he said. "The poison creature passed near here 2 hours ago." Huey swallowed. "So it's close." Butcher nodded. "Good." M's hands clenched. "Butcher." Butcher didn't answer. He was already thinking past the warehouse, past tonight. He was thinking about Vought Tower, about Stan Edgar, about all the people who slept well while other people suffered. He whispered, "If that green bastard sees what's inside their walls." Grabbed his arm. "No," said. "We do not do this by killing random workers." Butcher yanked free, annoyed. "Then what?" Butcher snapped. "You want a court date? You want a polite press conference? Vought eats that for breakfast." M's eyes burned. "We do it by saving people and showing the truth," he said. "Not by letting a nuke walk into a city." Butcher stared at him. For a second, neither man moved. Then Huey's phone buzzed. He looked at it and went pale. "Annie," Huey whispered. "She's out there. She found him." Butcher's eyes sharpened. "Found who?" Huey swallowed. "Bruce, the guy inside." Frenchie nodded, eyes wide. "She is brave," he said. "Or crazy." Butcher's mouth curled. "Both," he said. Stared at the warehouse. His voice dropped. "If she's with him," said, "then your plan gets her killed too." Butcher didn't answer. That was the problem. He didn't want her dead. Not because he was kind. Because she mattered. She was a crack in Vaught's wall. But Butcher wanted Vought to bleed more than he wanted anything. And now there was a weapon in the woods that Vought couldn't buy. That kind of thing made Butcher's brain itch. He whispered, "We need to talk to him." M's eyes narrowed. "Not you." Butcher smiled. "Yeah," he said, "especially me." Stan Edgar did not lose sleep. He lost patience. He sat in a private office and watched a screen filled with quiet footage from hidden drones. The footage showed the creature again, the unstable one, moving through trees and leaving scorched dirt behind it. It did not move like a superhero. It moved like a disease with fists. A scientist stood beside Stan, hands clasped tight. "We can retrieve it," the scientist said quickly. "We can bring it home. We can fix the instability." Stan didn't look away from the screen. "You said it was ready," he said. The scientist swallowed. "It was ready for controlled conditions." Stan's voice stayed calm. That calm was worse than a shout. "Nothing is controlled," Stan said. "Not with that green anomaly here." He nodded once toward another screen. On it, Homelander sat in a room with no windows, staring into a mirror like he was trying to burn it with his eyes. Stan's lips barely moved. "And my main asset is spiraling," he said. The scientist rushed to fill the silence. "We have a new plan," he said. "We lure the anomaly to a place we control. We stage an event. Cameras. Public. We show the Seven standing strong." Stan finally turned his head slightly. "You want to put civilians near a being that can crack the ground by walking," Stan said. The scientist hesitated. Stan continued, still calm. "That is not bravery," he said. "That is stupidity." The scientist's face flushed. "Then how do we engage him?" Stan leaned back. "We do not fight him," Stan said. "We speak to the man inside." The scientist blinked. "We can reach him." Stan's eyes narrowed. "We have his name," he said. "We have his habits. We have his guilt." He paused. "And we have things he wants." The scientist whispered. "A lab?" Stan nodded once. "A lab. Safety. Privacy. A way to manage the monster." He tapped the desk lightly. "Prepare an offer," Stan said. "A real one." The scientist's eyes flicked with hope. "And if he refuses?" Stan's gaze went back to the drone footage. "Then we remind him," Stan said softly, "that this world punishes what it cannot own." Homelander stood on a rooftop and listened to the city like it belonged to him. The wind tugged at his cape. Down below, people walked and talked and tried to pretend life was normal. Homelander could hear phones buzzing with clips of his humiliation. He could hear people laughing in apartments. He could hear someone in a bar say, "Maybe he's not that strong." The word maybe made his stomach twist. He wasn't used to maybe. He was used to yes. He was used to applause. He stared at a billboard with his own face on it. For a second, he wanted to rip it down. Then he heard another sound. A sound he hated. A news anchor saying, "Starlight has not been seen at Vout Tower in several days." Homelander's jaw tightened. She was out there, with the green thing. His mind made a clean, ugly plan the way it always did. If Starlight can touch the man inside, she can guide the monster. If she can guide the monster, she can replace me. Homelander's eyes glowed faintly. He lifted off the roof. He wasn't going to ask her to come back. He was going to force her. And if she refused, he smiled a little. Then the monster gets angry. And if the monster breaks her, it's not my fault, he thought. It's the monster's fault. Homelander loved plans like that. Plans where the blood didn't stick to his hands. The next night, Banner stood on a hill above the town the creature had attacked. Smoke still rose from one end. The air smelled sharp and wrong. Water in a ditch bubbled faintly like it had been burned. Annie stood beside him, face tight. Below them, people carried boxes out of ruined homes. A mother held a child too close, like if she let go the world might take the kid away. Banner stared, breathing slow. "I didn't make this," he whispered. Annie didn't answer with comfort. She answered with truth. "No," she said. "But you're the only one who can stop it fast." Banner's fingers curled. He forced them open. He stepped forward. "I need space," he said, "when it happens." Annie nodded and backed away. She watched him like she was guarding a fragile thing. Banner walked down the hill alone. Halfway down, he heard a voice behind him. "Bruce Banner," it said calmly. Banner froze. He turned. A man in a clean suit stood on the hilltop, hands open, not afraid in the way most people were. The man looked like he belonged in a boardroom, not in a burned town. Banner's mouth went dry. "Who are you?" The man smiled politely. "A representative," he said. "A vote." Annie's body went rigid. Her hands lit faintly with anger. Banner felt his pulse jump. The suit kept his distance. He didn't step closer. "We want to help," the suit said. "We can give you a secure facility, a lab, doctors, privacy, full protection from the government." Banner laughed once, sharp. "You mean a cage?" The suit's smile didn't move. "A partnership," he corrected. "You don't belong in the woods, Dr. Banner. You belong in a lab where you can control your condition." Banner's face hardened. "You made that other thing," he said. The suit didn't deny it. "We made progress," the suit said. "Imperfect progress. We can fix it. With you." Annie stepped forward. Voice low and dangerous. "You hurt people," she said. "You trapped people in cages." The suit's eyes flicked to her, just a small glance. "We do what we must," he said. Banner's chest tightened. He could feel Hulk stirring at the edges of his mind like a giant waking up. He forced his voice to stay steady. "I'm not your asset," Banner said. The suit nodded like he expected that answer. "Then you leave us no choice," he said calmly. He lifted a small remote. Banner's eyes narrowed. "What is that?" The suit pressed it. A loud boom rolled in from the far side of town. Annie spun toward the sound. Flames rose behind buildings. Banner's blood went cold. "What did you do?" he snapped. The suit's smile remained polite. "We released your copy into a second location," he said. "Just a few miles. A school bus. A crowd. A problem you can't ignore." Annie's face went white with rage. "You set him up," she hissed. The suit didn't flinch. "We created a choice," he said. "Come with us, and we stop making choices like this." Banner's hands shook. He wanted to lunge. He wanted to scream. But the bus, the crowd. Banner forced himself to breathe. Then he looked at Annie. "Get to the people," he said, voice tight. Annie nodded and ran. Banner turned back to the suit. His voice dropped low. "This is why you lose," Banner said. "You think fear is control." The suit lifted his shoulders slightly, like a small shrug. "It often is," he said. Banner stared at him. Then he whispered, "Not today." He stepped back. He didn't punch the suit. He didn't touch him, because that would be the trap. Instead, Banner closed his eyes. He let the anger rise on purpose. Not because he wanted to hurt, but because he needed power now. His bones shifted. His skin turned green. His clothes tore. The ground cracked under his feet as Hulk took over. Hulk opened his eyes and stared at the suit. The suit's polite smile finally twitched. Hulk leaned down close, breath heavy. "You," Hulk growled. "Bad man." The suit's throat bobbed. He stayed very still. Hulk could have ended him right there. He didn't. He turned away in disgust, like the suit wasn't worth the energy. Hulk launched himself toward the smoke with one huge jump. The suit exhaled, shaky. Then he spoke softly into his earpiece. "He refused," he said. "Proceed to contingency." The creature hit the road near the school bus like a wrecking ball. Metal screamed as it tore through the bus side. Kids screamed. Annie arrived first, blasting light into the creature's face, trying to push it back without killing anyone by accident. It barely reacted. It swung an arm and sent Annie flying into a ditch. She landed hard, stars bursting in her vision. She forced herself up, coughing. Then the ground shook, a deeper shake than any car crash. Hulk landed between the creature and the bus. His landing threw dirt outward and rocked the bus on its wheels. The creature turned to him, drool and poison dripping. It screamed and charged. Hulk met it with a single punch to the chest. The creature flew backward and rolled across the road. Hulk turned to the bus. Kids pressed against windows, crying. Hulk's face softened for a beat. "Go," he rumbled, pointing away. The bus driver didn't argue. He slammed the gas and pulled away, tires screeching. The creature got up again and ran at Hulk. Hulk grabbed it by the head and slammed it into the ground. Once, twice. The road cratered. Annie watched, breathing hard, half terrified, half relieved. Hulk wasn't playing. He was ending it. But then the creature's body split a canister on its back as it hit the ground. A hidden device cracked open. A thick, green-black mist poured out. It spread low, fast, toward the road ditch, toward nearby houses. Hulk's eyes widened. "Poison," he growled. Annie's stomach dropped. "It's going to the town!" Hulk's jaw clenched. He didn't have time to chase. He didn't have time to think. He clapped his hands hard, but not like before. This wasn't a shockwave meant to throw people. It was aimed upward, like he was punching air into the sky. The clap sent a hard gust that lifted the poison mist and pushed it away from the ground for a moment. Annie seized that moment. She blasted light into the mist, heating the air and forcing it to rise higher, away from people. It wasn't perfect. It still drifted. But it bought time. Hulk grabbed the creature by the torso and lifted it like a sack. The creature clawed and thrashed. Hulk jumped, straight up and away from the town. He carried the creature toward open fields. Then, as he came down, Hulk drove it into the earth, like a hammer driving a nail. The impact shook the ground. A deep crater formed. Hulk didn't stop. He hit again, deeper, harder. Each strike pushed the creature down and packed dirt tighter around it. Finally, Hulk ripped up a slab of rock and slammed it over the hole like a lid. The creature's screams turned muffled. The poison mist slowed, trapped more than before. Annie coughed and held her sleeve over her mouth. She ran to a nearby house and banged on the door. "Inside!" she shouted. "Windows closed! Now!" People stared at her, shocked. Then they saw the green mist and obeyed. Across the field, headlights swung in. Black vans, soldiers, Vought. And above them, a bright streak in the sky. Homelander. He hovered over the scene like a judge arriving late. His eyes scanned the bus driving away, the crater, the town, and then locked onto Annie. "You ran," he said, voice sweet and angry. "You left me." Annie's voice shook with rage. People were dying. Homelander smiled wider. "And now you brought me the monster." Hulk turned toward Homelander. The air got heavier again. Homelander's smile faltered. He forced it back. "You hear me?" Homelander called. Voice loud for the cameras that were already arriving. "You don't belong here." Hulk took one step forward. Homelander drifted backward an inch without meaning to. Annie saw it and felt something shift inside her. He's scared again, she thought. Homelander's eyes flashed red. He aimed at Hulk's face. Hulk didn't flinch. But Annie stepped between them anyway, because she couldn't stop herself. "Don't," she snapped. Homelander's eyes flicked to her with cold hate. He didn't fire. Not yet. He wanted to make it hurt first. Below, Butcher's voice cut through the chaos from behind a van. "Oi!" he shouted. Huey, Frenchie, and Kimiko were with him, crouched low, watching. Butcher stepped out like he owned the dirt. He pointed at the Vought vans, and then at Hulk. "See that?" Butcher yelled. "That's your enemy." "That's the people who made the copy." Grabbed Butcher's arm. "Stop!" Butcher yanked free. "Let him see it!" Butcher shouted. "Let him smash it!" Hulk's head turned. His eyes locked onto the Vought vans, then to the soldiers aiming rifles, then to Butcher. Hulk stared at him like he was deciding what kind of man this was. Butcher lifted his chin, trying to look fearless. "Go on," he said, voice hard. "Do it. Tear it down." Hulk's face twisted. Then Hulk did something nobody expected. He walked past Butcher, not toward Vought, toward the houses, toward the town. He moved like a wall, placing his body between the mist's drift and the people hiding inside. He wasn't choosing revenge. He was choosing protection. Butcher's mouth opened in disbelief. Exhaled, relieved and furious at the same time. "That's right," muttered. "He's not your weapon." Homelander watched Hulk turn away from him and felt the humiliation spike again. He couldn't stand it. He flew down fast and grabbed Annie by the throat. Annie's feet lifted off the ground. Her hands clawed at his wrist. Homelander smiled at Hulk over Annie's struggling body. "Come on," Homelander said softly. "Get angry." Hulk's eyes widened. The pressure around him surged so hard the grass flattened in rings. Annie's face turned red. Huey shouted, "No!" Started forward. Kimiko moved too, eyes wild. But Hulk was faster than all of them. Hulk crossed the distance in a blur of huge steps and grabbed Homelander's arm. Homelander's grip on Annie loosened. Hulk didn't rip the arm off. He didn't crush Homelander's skull. He simply forced the arm away and set Annie on the ground behind him, careful in a way that didn't match his size. Annie fell to her knees, coughing and crying, air rushing back. Homelander's eyes went wide. Hulk leaned in, voice low enough that only Homelander heard. "You hurt small ones," Hulk growled. "You like it." Homelander tried to laugh. It came out thin. "You can't," Homelander started. Hulk grabbed him by the cape and lifted him. Homelander punched Hulk's face again and again. It did nothing that mattered. Hulk turned and threw Homelander straight up. Not at a building, not at the town. Up into open sky. Homelander shot upward, tumbling, catching himself with frantic flight. He screamed, rage and fear mixing. Hulk looked up and roared once, not a roar of victory, a roar of warning. "Stay away." Homelander hovered high above, shaking with hate. He could come back down. He could burn the town. He could burn Annie. But he could feel it now, clear as day. If he pushed too far, the green thing would stop holding back. And then the cameras wouldn't matter. The brand wouldn't matter. The world wouldn't matter. Only survival would. Homelander's jaw clenched. He backed away into the clouds, pretending it was strategy. Vought soldiers lowered their guns by inches, because even they could feel the line they were standing near. Butcher stared at Hulk's back, anger and awe twisting together. He whispered, "He chose them." Huey coughed, still shaking. "Yeah," he said. "He chose people." Frenchie's eyes were wet. "It is strange," he said. "A monster who acts like a hero." Looked at Butcher. "Don't," he warned. Butcher didn't answer. His eyes stayed on Votvans and then on Hulk, like he was trying to find a new plan that didn't exist yet. Hulk turned away from the standoff and stomped back toward the crater where the creature was buried. He pressed his palms to the sealed rock lid. He could feel it beneath, still moving, still angry, still leaking poison in slow breaths. Hulk growled, low and frustrated, not because he couldn't win, because winning didn't end the danger. Annie stepped up behind him, voice hoarse. "Bruce," she said. Hulk's shoulders shifted slightly. Banner's voice surfaced for a moment through Hulk's mouth. "We need containment," Banner rasped. "Real containment." Butcher snorted. "Vought doesn't do real." Banner's eyes flicked toward him with tired anger. "I don't care," Banner said. "Then we do it without them." Blinked. "We?" Banner's face tightened as Hulk's mind pressed back in. Hulk looked over his shoulder at the small group. Annie, the boys, a handful of humans who were scared and still here. Hulk's voice rumbled. "Hulk stays," he said. Butcher's eyes sharpened. "Stays where?" Hulk looked toward the town, then toward the roads leading to bigger cities. He spoke slowly, like each word cost effort. "Stops bad thing," Hulk said. "Stops bad men." Annie stood, rubbing her bruised throat, and nodded once. "That's a start," she said. In the distance, sirens wailed again. More vans, more lies. But the line had been drawn, not by a speech, by a choice, a monster refusing to be anyone's tool. Later, when the town finally went quiet, Banner sat alone behind a shed at the edge of a field. He was human again. His clothes were borrowed and too big. His hands shook as he wrote in his plastic-wrapped journal by flashlight. He wrote short, plain lines. Creature contained, temporary. Poison risk remains. Vought used it as bait. Homelander threatened Annie. Hulk protected her. He stopped writing and stared at the page. He listened to the world. A dog barked somewhere. A car passed far away. People whispered inside houses like they were afraid sound might bring the sky down. Banner swallowed. He didn't want to be here. He didn't want to be anyone's problem. But he had seen the cages. He had seen what Vought did when no one watched. And he had seen what they did when everyone watched. They still hurt people. They just smiled while doing it. Annie walked up quietly and sat a few feet away, giving him space. She didn't speak right away. Banner finally said, "He almost killed me today." Annie's voice was soft. "You held on." Banner let out a shaky laugh. "Not because I'm strong," he said. "Because I'm scared." Annie nodded. "Fear can keep you careful," she said. Banner stared at his hands. "What happens when I get tired?" he asked. Annie looked out at the dark field. "Then we keep you from being alone with it," she said. Banner didn't answer. He wasn't sure he believed in we yet, but he wanted to. In the distance, a TV inside someone's house played a Vought news segment, loud enough to carry in the night air. Vought assures the public that the recent rural incident has been fully contained. Banner's jaw tightened. Annie rolled her eyes and muttered, "They're selling safety like it's a phone plan." Banner almost smiled. Then he looked back down at his journal and wrote one more line. "In this world, lies are normal. That makes anger easy. So I have to be careful every day." He closed the journal and sat in silence. Above them, the sky was dark and whole again. No green rip. No cosmic tear. Just stars. But Banner knew the truth. The hole didn't have to be in the sky. A hole could be in a system. A hole could be in a moral code. A hole could be in the way people treated each other. And once you saw it, you couldn't unsee it. Morning came slow, not bright and clean, just gray light through clouds. In a small diner near the edge of town, the TV on the wall showed a smiling anchor talking over footage of Homelander hovering high above a field. The anchor said, "Homelander bravely forced the hostile to retreat." A man at the counter snorted. "That's not what happened." A woman beside him nodded. "I saw the real video." The anchor kept talking anyway. Outside, a Vought truck drove by with a banner that read, "We keep you safe." A kid pointed and asked, "Mom, is it true?" The mom hesitated. Then she said, "No, honey." In a field beyond town, behind a line of trees, Hulk sat with his back against a hill. He was still. Huge. Quiet. Banner's mind floated near the surface, tired but present. He listened to the distant world and felt the pull of anger like gravity. He also felt something else, a small sense of purpose. Not saving the whole world, just stopping the next cage, the next trap, the next copy that escaped into a schoolyard. Hulk looked down at his own hands, dirt packed into the creases. He remembered the bus from the first day, the way it had felt to hold something fragile and not crush it. He remembered Annie's cough as she got air back into her lungs. He remembered the way the small humans ran anyway, even when they had no chance. Hulk's voice came out low, almost like a promise. "Hulk watches," he said. Banner's thought pressed gently from inside. Not watches. Guards. Hulk didn't use the word. He didn't need to. In the distance, drones buzzed far away. Careful now. Vought was still watching. The government was still watching. Homelander was still watching. But none of them looked confident anymore. Because now this world had a new story, and it wasn't one Vought had written. A real monster had shown up. And for the first time in a long time, the people who sold fake heroes were the ones who looked afraid.